Welcome back to Pachter Factor on SIFTD.net. We are hopeful you are a Patreon patron or a YouTube subscriber. For a low price, you're getting this content in real time. I don't get paid on that, so I've insisted that we have a free option, but that requires Shane to delay the content by a week. If you have an Amazon Prime account, no matter how you watch this, whether you're a subscriber or not, please remember to link your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch Prime account. There are instructions in the show description below. It's really simple. You have to renew it every month or so. So just every time you watch, just double click. Make sure you did it. Double check.
This episode of Pachter Factor is brought to you by DeShazer Ryan Realty. Right now, Doug DeShazer has beautiful lots available adjacent to Koocanusa Lake in northwest Montana. Pull up your RV and access the hookups, or build your own construction. Either way, you have access to world-class fishing, hunting, boating, swimming, biking, hiking, and the internet. No matter where you're looking to buy, make Doug DeShazer your real estate consultant at 406-291-1643. That's Doug DeShazer at 406-291-1643.
Question today from Twitter from @JZushner. Can publishers ever break free of standardized pricing for AAA single-player games? The increase to 70 was met with little resistance, and people pay a high price for early access and collector's editions. Is there an opportunity exploring 100 or even 150 for premium games? I mean, yes. So, yes, they could. It's interesting. Games were like 70 for the N64, I think. For Dreamcast, I think they were as well. So in the 90s, games were 70. Then somehow PlayStation 2 came out and games were 50, and that was kind of the standard. PlayStation 1 was always 50. But PlayStation 2 came out, they were 50. So Nintendo GameCube followed suit. Xbox, first one, followed suit. And they stayed at 50 for that entire generation. Then we got to Xbox 360, and games went to 60. And the reason was that the average cost of game development went from about $5 million to about 20. So you had a massive increase in game development expense because the technology or the graphics were so much better. And prices went to 60 and gamers whined. And then they stayed at 60 from 2005/6, which is PS3 and Xbox 360. They stayed at 60 until really Sony tested it and raised the price to 70. So it really stuck there for 14 years. I think $10 every 14 years is reasonable. I mean, if you kind of take the math, 10 over 60, 16% in 14 years is % a year. It's just not a big price increase. So, could you inflate the price of games by 2% a year for forever in perpetuity? Sure. Of course you could. Can you jump to 150? Probably not. People will resist that. And I think, it's funny, I cover, among others, Turtle Beach, and we talk about headset prices all the time, and they're like, we can't have a $109.99 price point for headsets. It's got to be $99.99 or $129.99. And I'm like, why? And they go, because we can't. I don't know why. Everybody's got their own impression of what the consumer is willing to pay. But the answer is, I think if you stay at 70 for 2 or 3 more years, could you jump to 75 and nobody would even notice? Yes. And then 2 or 3 more years, jump to 80? Yes. And keep it. So I think steady, standard increases every 3 years, every 4 years by 5-7%. People would totally pay that and not even notice. But jumping to 100 or 150, I think you have to give the consumer something. So early access is stupid, but they give it to them. I think, Diablo, the $100 SKU, you got like a poster and you got like a cool box and stuff. I remember Grand Theft Auto 5 when it came out. I think they had like a collector's edition for like $250, and it came with like a briefcase. Do you remember that? I think it was a briefcase. Might have been. I can't remember if it was silver or whatever. But they gave you something worth $50, and it felt really cool. So you can do packaging like that if you want to. Not very many people pay that. When the standard edition is $60. You're just not going to get more than 5 or 10% to pay for the premium. That's why it's easier just to raise the price by $5 and get 100% of the people to pay $5 more. But great question. I think the smartest way to charge for anything is to pay the earliest people who access the game more. Charge the people who access the game earliest more. And I've talked to the movie theater guys about this ad nauseum. Why don't you charge $20 for opening weekend, $15 a week later, and $10 a week later? And they just don't want to do it. They feel like every ticket should cost the same, and it shouldn't. If you're the first guy in your block to see it and you're willing to pay more, pay more. So I've also wondered, on pay-per-view, if you watch video on demand and pay for movies, I think I just saw them going to $6.99, but they've been at $5.99 forever. And the question is, the old model was 180 days after the theatrical release, you got a pay-per-view. Then it went to 135 days. It's now between 70 and 90. Some are 45 days. But I always wondered, 45 days, $20 per view. 60 days, $10 per view. 90 days, $6. And see how many people pay that. If you want to see it now, pay $20. Instead, the idiot movie studios are like, no, you got to buy Avatar. You can't rent it. You got to buy it. Well, you're only going to watch it once. Just rent it. Who cares? And charge me $20. So I frankly think that's the smart thing to do with all entertainment media. Just charge more for early access. And that's really what these guys are doing with the $100 early access SKUs. But it's a step toward variable pricing, and I think that's the way to go. So Call of Duty, I think, would be the game that you go to 75 and see what happens. And then if that's met with zero resistance and you sell exactly the same number of units, the next year 80. And you'll lose some people, but if that's met with zero resistance, 85, I would rather see them go 75, 80, 85, 90, 95, 100 than jump to 100. Because you might really anger people, and do $5 annual increase to see what happens. Grand Theft Auto, that's the one I would try variable pricing. I would say launch year, it's $100, and if you don't like it, too bad. And January 1st, we're going to drop the price to 80. You want to wait? Great. All your friends will be done with the game by the time you get it, but whatever. And the other way to do it is charge $100 and give everybody $100 of currency in GTA Online. So you could do something like that where it's $100, and if you don't like it, don't play it, but you get $100 of in-game currency in GTA Online. Everybody would do that, and you get more GTA Online players, and you don't really care about the $100. You care about the season pass. So get them hooked up to season pass, and that has to be new money. You can't use in-game currency for season pass. Plenty of ways to do that. And so, yes, that one I could see being $100. We'll see what they do. Thanks for joining us on Pachter Factor on SIFTD.net. We appreciate your patronage from Patreon and as a YouTube subscriber, and by linking your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch Prime account. Remember to do that. You have to redo that every time you watch. I'm sorry, but you got to. Go to the instructions in the show description below. And if you're not doing any of those things, you better follow me on Twitter @Michael Pachter. I will see you on Twitter. Bye.